Hello. Welcome back to Quick Mute. Welcome, you guys. My name is Keith. I am your host, your man of letters, here to bring us some knowledge, information, and at the least, a bit of entertainment. Thank you guys for being back. Thank you for the continued support on the channel. If you guys are new, I thank you in advance for subscribing, or at least for considering to subscribe. But let me make sure that we're not actually muted before I ramble, which seems to be a common theme. Tonight we're talking about shadow work. First things first, let me tell you what this is, and let me tell you what this isn't. What this is a sort of musing. I started reading this book. What did I do with the book? Where did I put it? Called Owning Your Shadow by Robert A. Johnson. It's mostly amusing. This is I've done shadow work, and I know it's like sort of the hip in thing to say that if you're a spiritual person that you've gone through the dark night of the soul, and not to say that you haven't, but it's just, you know how it is in the spiritual world. Everyone sort of wants to one up each other with how woke they are and the things that they've been through to get where they are. At least I have. With that being said, what this is a sort of musings on my journey as I give shadow work an actual, genuine, sincere go. Not just reading about it, not just pondering on it, but actually reading a good amount of relevant material and applying what I learned to my life so that I can sort of integrate the knowledge into practical use, if you will. What this isn't is teaching you guys how to do shadow work. I'm not your guru. I'm not going to teach you how to reach enlightenment. I'm not going to sell you on 21-day shadow work courses yet. But I would like to, as good as I can, share the journey with you guys, my journey of shadow work. And I guess we can call this part one, if you will. Part one. With that being said, let me take a quick gander at the comment section sound box. So what's cracking? Bend over. You and that name, man. It gets me every time. How you doing, brother? Nice to see you. Glow with Nori. How's it going, Nori? Nice to see you. Emmy, Phoenix. Hello, 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 everybody. Welcome, welcome. Everyone smash that like button for me. Do me a huge solid. By hitting that like button, you guys make sure that the YouTube algorithm sort of reaches further. At this moment, I would like to invite you all to roll up a J, pour a glass of wine, heat up your favorite tea, or just cozy up. You know what I mean? Take your shoes off, stay a while. Stay a while. Listen, as a once great Decker Kane once said. Shout out to all my Diablo fans out there. But thank you guys. Renee, Johnny, thank you guys. Tonight we're burning that oregano. That pipeweed, as Gandalf the Grey likes to call it so much. All right. I have two things written down that I wanted to talk about, and then I'm sure other things will come up as you guys interject. Like I said, I would like this to be more of an open dialogue. I would like to share my thoughts with you to help, or not to help, but I guess to sort of stimulate thoughts of your own so that you can sort of take it in your own direction. So let me know if there's audio issues, video issues going on. Greetings, Phoenix. Peace, Ion. Nice to see you. Peaceful greetings, or any sort of greetings, whatever works for you guys. Okay, the first thing I had written down was shadow work. I've avoided shadow work for the same reason that I avoided plant medicines, entheogenic plant medicines, for the longest time. Ayahuasca, things like that. And the reason is because I don't know if this is particular to me, or if this is just a natural sort of human thing, but the image in my head of myself tends to be not as what's the word I'm looking for? The image of myself in my head tends to fall short of the grandeur that really is me. Um, it's not, things aren't always good enough. It could always be better. Um, I do see the glass as half full and not half empty. However, I feel like I have to just I feel like I have to absolutely grind day in and day out in order for that glass to stay half full, if that makes any sense. Hopefully that makes sense. Um, and so I've been afraid to do the shadow work because I was afraid that I would see that I am actually way worse than I see myself, which isn't the case at all. At least so what I'm uncovering isn't the case at all. Uh, and it's not like I'm thinking, oh, Keith, you're amazing, or Keith, it's what it's surprisingly developing into is a sort of you're neither great nor bad. You're neither good nor bad. I know it sounds kind of cliche, but bear with me. Um, but it's sort of teaching me to see to step outside of myself when I'm doing certain things. And again, I just started this journey. I just read my first book. Actually, I'm not even finished with the first book, but almost finished with the first book. So, like I said, I have a long way to go. But um, anywho, let's get into the first one. Um, Rituals, something that came up that I found super interesting because the book has this air of philosophy, science, psychology, definitely no sorcery or witchery, but he uses the word ritual a lot. And what the author sort of goes on about owning your own shadow, Robert A. Johnson, he says that we have to use our imagination, which I like because he doesn't tell you what to do. I hate it, but I also love it because it's definitely my style. I don't like telling people what to do. I like them finding it out on their own, partly because I can't tell people what to do, and partly because it's up to people anyways to figure out their own special circumstance in order to sort of figure something out, which involves imagination and creativity, which is what Robert Johnson says in the book. And he says to do it by balancing our light with our darkness. And to balance that, we have to find a way to channel the darkness or to let the darkness out in a way that's not going to destroy us. Sort of he doesn't say this, but I'm sort of using poetic license here. A sort of um, a controlled demolition, a controlled fire here in Southern California. This is a perfect example. I'm killing it on this one. Perfect example is here in California. We have fires all the time. It's actually people are like, oh my god, climate change, fires. No, fires burn all the time. Listen, this is a wonderful example, and I get to hate on the climate change people. I love you guys, but I'm letting my dark side out. I'm learning. We're learning here. This is the learning process. Anywho, fires burn in California all the time. In fact, a lot of the local plant species can't even reproduce unless there are wildfires. Conifers, pines, even some of the herbs like some white sages, rock roses need fire in order to reproduce. Anywho, what we do is we'll have controlled burns in front of the fire, so it sort of lessens the fuel so that when a fire does hit, it doesn't consume the entire state, because naturally a fire would burns everything down, no big deal, life starts over. But now some places in California haven't burned for over 100 years when they were used to burning every single year. So you can only imagine. Think of the dark night of the soul. Think of your shadow. If you don't have a healthy outlet for your shadow, and it builds up and it builds up and it builds up. It's just like the Southern California, all of California landscape. If it doesn't have a chance to be released on occasion, then when it does become released, it just consumes and destroys everything, which is so beautiful, because you guys will I'll be preaching to the choir for this next part, especially if you follow my channel and or the Hermetic and Kabbalion. um, this is the law of compensation. To a T, this is the law of compensation, which is part of the law of rhythm, which says, you have opposites and you're always going to swing in between the opposites, right? However, the law of compensation says when you hit the apex of one swing, right, the opposite swing will match it. So you'll be here, then the swing. If you're at a 10, in other words, and you let the pendulum go, it's going to end up around a 10 on the other side, give or take a few degrees. If it got some help on the way or some resistance on the way, it won't be exactly the same on the other end, but it'll be within reason. This is what happens with the shadow aspect. We bury it away. We don't acknowledge it. We hide it. We pretend it doesn't exist, but it has to exist. We have to have a shadow, again, because we have a light. And if we don't have a healthy outlet for that, it will consume us, you, me, all of us. So my point was that I found it super interesting that he used ritual, being super psychology based. He's a Jungian philosopher, a Jungian psychologist. Obviously, it's like it's his main psychologist that he references in the book. Where was I? So we got to find a ritual. And like I said, I don't have an answer on how to find your ritual. He doesn't actually give one. He gives a couple examples of rituals. Like one was a wedding couple. They performed a ritual the night before their wedding, and the ritual was they did shadow vows. So your vows are, I will take care of you forever. So what he compared that to was the light side, our ego, the thing that we cling to, that we want to be, that we want the world to see us as, that we want to be, etc., all that shit. So they did a dark vow. And the man said, I vow to, I can't remember the words exactly, but it was like, I vow to parade you around the world as an extension of me and to show you off, sort of like she was an object to be owned, right? That was his shadow was controlling a woman as an extension of himself, almost destroying her identity to mesh with his. That was it. And he said that was his vow to her, that he promises to do that, to make her that object. And she made her shadow vow for him, and she said that, I'll be sweet and innocent and charming in person. However, I know that underneath I have all the control. And if you don't act as I want you to act, I'm going to take the kids and the house and you're going to be left with nothing. And so that was her shadow vow. And then the next day they got married. And the understanding was that this is when they don't control themselves, when they lash out, when they sort of fall into the subconscious, as humans always will, they know where each other are coming from. Like, oh, I see that that's your dark side. I see that that's your shadow. It's not necessarily you. It's the shit that you haven't worked out because of culture, because of the thoughts that you've chosen to entertain, or the movies that you've chosen to entertain, people, conversations, you know how it goes. And so that was their ritual. But he says, of course, there's all kinds. It doesn't have to be. He does say that falling in love, that sort of experience of falling in love is probably the most powerful tool for shadow work to see that you'll ever come across. Because what he says is, when we fall in love with somebody, what we're doing is we have our ideal human in mind that meets this criteria. And when we fall in love with someone, we take that bullet point presentation of our perfect partner and we throw it on to the other person. And that ideal that we have is the divine. it's flawlessness. It's God. It's God. It's godlike. It's the divine characterization of a partner when we fall in love with them, and we throw that on them. And so for a while, we're super enamored with them. We see through that sort of rose-colored glasses, and then reality sets in. And once reality sets in, we go, oh, this person actually exists as a person outside of my projection of that person. Like, oh, they actually have their own thoughts, their own ways of being that I have to learn how to accommodate, to deal with, to navigate. Um, yeah, so falling in love is a whole nother different type of shadow work. What is a little brighter, a little more interesting, is he has this line in the book where he says that surprisingly, God, he uses the word God a lot. I think he's a religious man. He might be Christian, but I'm not sure. He doesn't state. But he says that one of his favorite quotes is, God loves us more for our shadow than our light. And I'm not exactly sure what he means by that yet. I could take a stab in the dark. Bah! Get it? Stab in the dark because we're doing shadow work. No. Tough crowd. Anywho, yeah, he says God loves us more for our shadow than our light. But to another Hermetic law, another Hermetic principle that Robert Johnson brings up is that our light is equal to our darkness. And the greater light we have, the darker our shadows are, which makes sense sort of intellectually as an idea makes sense, but it's hard to feel something like that in the body. And he gives an example that helps with that. So sort of bridging that gap of understanding it as a concept and feeling that as a real thing, as a physical experience, which is where the true wisdom comes from. He says, imagine the greatest artists and the greatest philosophers, how dark their dark side is sometimes. And he gave a few examples that I think Beethoven was one of them. Friedrich Nietzsche, basically, he said Nietzsche went fucking mad because he wasn't able to balance his shadow, basically, but he was brilliant. So Picasso had a wild ass day-to-day life that was insane, you guys. I can't remember the details of it, but anywho, the whole idea is to, again, have a healthy outlet for the shadow. And as you guys have heard before, the whole goal of shadow work is integration. That's what you hear over and over again. Integrate the shadow, integrate the shadow. Cast light, but not only are you casting light, you're not eradicating it, you're integrating it. And you can't eradicate the shadow, remember, because to eradicate the shadow is to eradicate the light. You cannot have one without the other. So it's more of an integration of the shadow to make whole. Alan Watts says something on this. I don't know if shadow work was a big term back when Alan, I don't think it was too mainstream as far as spirituality goes. But he gave a story on soup. Salt is kind of bitter, right? Too much salt, it's like, it just destroys your tongue. But not enough salt in your soup. The soup tastes like shit. There's no character. There's no taste. There's no kick. It's always, it needs a little more salt, right? A little more salt, just a little more, not too much, but a little more. Alan Watts compared this salt to human sort of, what was one of his favorite words? Rascal. He likes using the word rascal a lot. So he's like, that's the rascal side of you, the salty side, the dark side of you that when integrated makes you, you know what I mean? Like some people, we love to hate villains because villains show their shadow. Villains usually they're sort of manipulative, but we know, like the Joker, for example. We appreciate the Joker because he talks about real shit that no one else wants to talk about. He talks about people's shadow side, their dark side. That's exactly why Joker and Batman, like think about the contrast between the Joker and Batman. It's basically two different personalities of the same body. You have order, structure, Batman, what's his name? Bruce Wayne. He's very sophisticated. He's got a nice job. He wears a nice suit. He's very well spoken, very well mannered. And what's his arch nemesis? The fucking Joker, who was a literal clown. Face paint. The dude's always cackling. He makes absolutely no sense when he talks, but he actually makes a fuck ton of sense when he talks. And that's what we love about him. We love that someone can be so chaotic, but at the same time speak so much truth. And that's what it means to integrate that shadow, or to understand the shadow is to understand that that is just as much truth as is your light side, your quote unquote light side. Yeah, it's cool. It's good shit. The shadow stuff, it's cool because, well, I don't want to get into that right now. I'm not exactly sure where I want to take that. But one of the coolest things for me, actually, let me take it. We'll put that on. That's my second point that I'm going to bring up. So let's just check out you guys' comments for a second here. Welcome, all you newcomers. Welcome, welcome, welcome. If you're new, take your shoes off, stay a while. I'm your host, Keith, here to bring you knowledge, information, and a bit of entertainment. If we do have anybody new on the show tonight, you guys should definitely introduce yourselves. Tell us a little bit about what you do, where you're from, what brought you here, and we'll give you a nice warm welcome. So let me check your comments. Give me a second. Double R with the name highlight. All right. Double R says, I've been doing lots of work with shadow for the last 2 years. I feel like it's a never ending thing. The shadow continually shows up in some way or another. I can see that. I can see that. The two gardens. I like that. Something about you two gardens. I don't know what it is, but I like it. Hello from California, Sir Australia. Can you explain exactly what shadow work is? Hopefully I've done that already, but if I haven't answered that question, then I'll give it another stab in the dark. Again, that's the last shadow joke I'll make for the evening, I promise. What up, alchemy? What up, alchemy? I take what up, Miss Shy? I take my shadow work seriously, but I really don't want to deal. I feel you on that. Akjari, how's it going, buddy? I was like, what you see, I'm listening. We got some good juicy stuff so far. So I'm gonna copy and paste some of your guys' questions. Remember to hit that like button, you guys. I would love it if you guys hit the like button. It really helps the channel out. Thank you kindly. Let's see. Oh yeah, explain what shadow work is. So I'll write those two questions down. We'll do a nice little Q&A after this. I'm almost done talking. I'm pretty much done talking at this point of my spiel that I wanted to give, but we can keep spitballing after this. Renee Lottie. My first book on shadow work was Feelings Buried Alive Never Die. Led to EFT tapping. Damn, Renee Lottie, looks like you're on a completely different wild ass rabbit hole that we should go down. EFT tapping, sign me up. Sign me up. Oh, the name of the book is called Owning Your Shadow by Robert A. Johnson. Emotional dealing with, do we go from traumas? Emotional freedom technique. It's tapping points with mantras to rewire our programs. I like it. I like it. Oh yeah, we did hit 12K subs, you guys. I forgot. I usually celebrate when we hit a thousand subscriber mark, but I didn't this time. So yeah, we're definitely growing, y'all. Our shadows define our true character. Well said, Gianni. Some friends become enemies. Some enemies become friends. Hello, Salavi. How's it going? Smith, what up, Smith? Nice to see you. Thanos was what was needed. Yeah, Thanos is another good one. It's always order versus chaos, you guys. I know I used the Joker and Batman because those are some of the more obvious ones, but it tends to be light versus dark, which light tends to be order Darkness is tends to be chaos, you know. Um, Joker is greater than Batman all day. Nice. To be fair, Joker is more entertaining than Batman. Obviously, how many more you see? I see 10 Joker costumes or some variation of it compared to Batman. So we definitely, as a global sort of consciousness, and that's actually, let's stop right there. Let's stop right there. Akjari Drogon just said Joker is greater than Batman all day. And while most of us, like myself, sort of cackled and thought, "Ha, yeah, Joker." What? Now that we see this, now let's take ourselves out of the situation. Take off your egos, take off your masks for a second. You guys sort of dissolve into the ether and see this as an alien race observing humanity. And you're looking down at humanity, and you come to the realization, hey, humans tend to like this Joker dude way more than Batman. I'm not sure why. And the aliens are talking to each other. We're talking to each other because we're the aliens in outer space right now, right? And we're talking to each other, and I'm going, hey, Akjari, why the fuck would these guys like the Joker more than Batman? Batman makes money. He has his shit together. He gets top shelf friends. He gets top shelf women in his life. Like, he's got the successful business, he's got freedom, he's got financial freedom. Like the Joker is mad, he's loony. It's like what all humans try to avoid is going insane, you know. So why is it that they all love the Joker so much? I don't necessarily have an answer for that. I'm playing a sort of mind game with you guys. I can give an answer for that, but it would be shooting from the hip, you know what I mean? But this is also something I was learning from the book. How this shadow reveals itself not only on the individual level, but on the global conscious level as well, because we do have this sort of unified human consciousness that brings about certain things in the world. Um, our love for horror movies, he uses as an example of a crude way of expelling our demons, our dark sides, a way to get it out on the paper. Anywho, yeah, I was just throwing that out there. Trump is the Joker archetype. Is he? I never thought of Trump as the archetype or as an archetype before, but I could argue that I wouldn't mind arguing that he's not the Joker type, though I'm mostly playing devil's advocate, but still kind of feeling it. You know what I mean? Joker is creativity in a world of form. Batman isn't real. He's fighting all day inside piracy. Sorry, I lost my spot in you guys' comments. Evening, Janai. Thanks for showing up. Thanks for chilling. New to Shadow. Same, Janai. Same. Hello from a pineapple sage. Oh my God, pineapple sage. Have you ever smelled hummingbird sage? Because if you haven't, you should. We get a lot of sages that grow up. We get all the sages that grow out here in California. And pineapple sage is one of my favorite. Hummingbird sage might be my favorite. I distilled a bunch of hummingbird sage like a year ago. And I only got like 20 milliliters or so. But it smelled exactly like Starburst. It was oh my God, it smelled so good. Oh, it smelled so good. Hey, so I'm glad if you do love the esoteric knowledge, like my boy Mike Love, we got to take back the esoteric knowledge. You know, for too long they've been keeping us apart. Take back the knowledge. Take back. Humanity, don't let this be a final hour. Take back the knowledge, take back the power. Humanity, don't let this be a final hour. Take back the knowledge, take back the power. Take back what they have stolen from our hearts. We got to take back the esoteric knowledge. You know, for too long they've been keeping us apart. If you guys haven't heard that song by Mike Levy, shit, it's called Permanent Holiday. I'm about to link you guys, unless John Smith beats me to it. All right, let's see. Maybe I can answer some of you guys. Candy Bukowski, what up? Oh, you guys are answering my question about Joker. Nice. The Joker is true freedom. Batman has his limits. Joker continuously expands his limits every time they close in. Oh man, Alchemy, I see you've thought about this question before, haven't you? That was fucking beautiful. I'm gonna read Alchemy's response. He said the Joker is true freedom. Batman has his limits. Joker continuously expands his limits every time they close in. Oh man. Better answer than I could have given. For sure. Let's smoke to that. Fuck. I just grew a whole bunch of Native American tobacco. It's about to flower. I'll make a video on it for you guys. It's one of the coolest plants I've ever grown. Thick, healthy, dark green leaves. It grows pretty fast once it catches on. I don't know, there's something about it. It's just got a magical feel to it, you know? The Native American kind, not the fucking Marlboro kind either. Anywho. So let's talk about that. The Joker represents chaos. Humans come from chaos, the feminine energy. Maybe. Oh, that's another good answer. The Joker represents chaos, but humans come from chaos, the feminine. It's very well said, Pineapple Sage. Very well said. Okay, so now I guess we can continue the esoteric knowledge and talk about the limitations of the masculine and the feminine. And I'll try to keep it in reference to shadow work. We'll see how well I do, though. But in reference to chaos and freedom and expansion, that's the one I wanted to true freedom. The feminine is true freedom. By definition, the feminine is freedom. Because the feminine doesn't necessarily have a container. To contain the feminine is to sort of, that's to contain feminine is to add masculine. That's the masculine role. The masculine provides a container. The masculine goes, okay, we have an infinite amount of possibilities, but these infinite possibilities only exist as a possibility. Like, if I need food on my table, possibility of food isn't going to keep me alive. The possibility of food isn't going to feed my son. Food will feed my son, but not the possibility of food. You see what I'm saying? So that's the difference between masculine and feminine. Feminine says, oh, we have the possibility of food as well as the possibility of everything else in existence. That's why the feminine is so powerful, because the feminine is everything all at one time. But it's fucking useless without the masculine, because if you can't consolidate the etheric into something tangible, then it's useless. Vice versa. Especially in America. So I think this is an America, a sort of maybe a first world sort of thing, but definitely America, and the push to capitalism and the huge expansion and the huge growth we saw, at the turn of the 20th century, is that America has been extremely masculine dominant. Uh, Lots of rules, lots of restrictions, lots of guidelines. You grow up, you learn your ABCs, you fucking go to high school, you graduate, you go to college, you get that degree, you get that good job, you get the woman, you fucking get the marriage, the family, you buy the house, you retire 45 years later, you die in the next, you know what I mean? It's all very, you work hard. Um, Playing is almost frowned upon. Like, obviously you got to work, but obviously you have to play. But play is sort of like, get a job, grouch. Get a job, grouch. You know what I mean? Um, so, talking about alchemy, he says the Joker is true freedom. Batman has his limits. Of course, Batman is limits. The problem is, and this is, I guess, this is what Johnson means by the shadow showing up as a global sort of subconscious eruption, is we have a show like Batman that shows the dichotomy of the mind, the order, and the chaos, and how humanity can't seem to fucking get it right. Because the idea is to integrate the Joker and the Batman together so that you can have both extreme, boundless freedom, but at the same time be able to make sense of that freedom and reel it all in so that you can actually manifest something. Because what do you need when you manifest something? You need a masculine and you need a feminine. Without the feminine, the masculine is uptight, zero creativity, extreme amounts of stress and pressure, because that's what the masculine is. It's focusing, unwielding power into a single space. If that's all you're doing ever, you're just fucking fighting things, right? If you can't just fight things your whole life, you're gonna die. You're gonna burn out. You're gonna be stressed out all the time. You're gonna die of a fucking heart attack at 60. You know what I mean? But on the other hand, we have to have the capacity to get shit done. We can't just be laying around smoking weed on the beach all day. We can, but then we would die because we would never build homes. You know what I mean? We'd never sit down and focus long enough to learn agriculture or how to breed genetics in plants, which takes an extreme amount of focus, masculine energy, right? It takes an extreme amount of focus and dedication. And science is definitely, well, science is a good blend of both imagination and both feminine and masculine, if you're a good scientist, that is. But I think until what I'm curious is, say humanity, it will never be all of humans, but let's say a vast majority of humanity is able to integrate the shadow and the light in a healthy way without destroying each other. Like, what would the planet look like? What would it look like? Would war be gone? Because when you think about it, that's all war really is two countries projecting their shadow on someone else. Like the US going to war with Vietnam. We had a fear because Vietnam wasn't like us. We wanted them to be like us, because what is not us, we are fearful of. We are afraid of things that we don't know, which is part of the shadow. And so we literally thrust our self-righteousness in the form of 200,000 soldiers and like 200,000 pounds of TNT, and we dumped them all over Vietnam. You know what I mean? And that's more or less what every country has been doing to each other since the dawn of fucking time, unfortunately, is people not understanding each other. People just vomiting their shadows on each other. Both the shadow and the light. At the beginning of this conversation, I was talking about falling in love and the love kind of relationship as a good eye opener for the shadow. So we can do two things. We can project the shadow, or we can project the light. And when we fall in love with somebody, we project the light, meaning if we project our shadow, it's all the darkest parts we hate. If we project the light, it's all the light things that we love. So falling in love with someone, we project the divine, we project the light, our idealized concept of a person. We put that light armor on them, even though that's not them. They exist as themselves outside of your fucking projection onto them. And eventually, your little armor of light that shimmers off of them, that's your perfect ideal of the divine, starts to wear off. And you start to realize, oh, this person exists as their own entity outside of my projection onto them. And you can imagine the more in love with someone you are, the more you hate them when they turn out to be or do things that you never wanted them to do or that you never imagined them to do, because the whole time you're too busy projecting that divine light on them. I'm getting this from the book, by the way. Like I said, I'm not not a psychologist, you know what I mean? Not officially, at least. No, how did we get on that topic? Should we carry on? I'm not sure how we got on that topic. Let's see if we can get you guys' comments. Blah, blah, blah. Investment trade, 5 guys, 1 brush. Whoa, dude. Whoa, dude. What up? Where we at? Rest is frowned upon for sure. Joselina. What's up, Joselina? Welcome. Ipo man? Nice. Nice. The law of polarity and gender seem to absorb each other. Was there a question about that? If you guys ask me like questions that aren't rhetorical that you really want me to answer, type my name, Man of Letters, so that it highlights it in orange. That way I can kind of spot it. Oh, Salavi asked, how do you relate law of polarity and law of gender in relation to the all? So Salavi asked a good question. She said, how do you relate law of polarity and law of masculine and feminine, which is the law of gender, in relation to the all being the substantial reality from which all things manifest? You say, everything in life is changing. Nothing is static. Everything reaches its apex and immediately goes into the decline of something new. Always changing. So that change is a constant. The constant would be the all, the substantial reality from which everything else rests upon, as it has been and as it has ever been from now until time. And to even give it the name, the all, is nigh on blasphemy and still falls short of what that thing actually is. So, difference between polarity and gender is basically gender is describing how the two qualities of energy work. Polarity says everything that exists both as it and its opposite. So for light to exist, dark must exist. For love to exist, hate must exist. That's the law of polarity. There's always two. Gender describes the two qualities of energy that all things contain that make them tick. Masculine being the more active, projecting energy. Feminine being the more receptive, receiving type of all including. The masculine is specific. The feminine is boundless, raw, pure energy, pure potential. So that would be the relation to each other. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, thanks for the book shout out, Smith. If you guys are curious why I can just freeball Hermetic principles and whatnot, I wrote a book on basically the Kabbalion. It's called 7 Pillars, a Handbook to Existence, written by Keith Garcia. And it's on Amazon. I'll read maybe tomorrow, maybe the day after. I want to read a chapter from a book, and that would be pretty cool. I don't know why I haven't done it sooner, but I like the idea of that. So we'll run that. Carrying on with you guys' questions. For those of you just checking in, thanks for being here. I'm your host, Keith. Here to bring you knowledge, information, and at the very least, hopefully, a bit of entertainment. Thank you for being here. If you're new, introduce yourself. Say what's up to the squad. We'll give you a warm, happy welcome. Take your shoes off, stay well, make yourself comfy. We've got the oregano going. We got some water. You guys want a glass of wine, a nice cold Bukowski. Yeah, just make yourself cozy. We're chilling. We're chilling doing some thought stuff. Is war masculine, trying to force one opinion on another? Salavi asked a good question. No, war is not masculine. War is both masculine and feminine. Everything, once it solidifies into like an action or solidifies into reality as more than a thought, as more than a concept, it must contain both masculine and feminine to exist. Like that's law, you know. I would argue that war leans on feminine because feminine is this is my interpretation. Feel free to tell me I'm wrong, but war stems from passion. Usually people kill each other over passion. People don't kill each other over, unless you're a fucking sociopath or a psychopath. Murder doesn't just like, it's like, hey, I think I'll murder someone today. You know, it's not a logical thought, in other words, to just murder someone for a ridiculous reason. Like, hey, they have different ideals than me. I think I'm gonna murder them. Remember, masculine is more logical. Masculine is more reasoning. Feminine is illogical. It has no reasoning, which is a good thing, right? It's good to not have reason and logic, because reason and logic tell you things like humans will never be able to fly. Right? It made perfect sense that humans were unable to fly because humans don't have fucking wings. Now, you're gonna make a piece of steel fly through the air, and they didn't even. Anywho, it's a whole different thing. My point is, war seems to be more feminine driven, which is why I believe the god of war in ancient times was Athena. Right, the god of war was a woman. Right, Athena was the god of war. Hopefully, I didn't shoot myself in the foot on that, but I'm pretty sure the god of war was Athena. And then Ares is the god of war, but that was for Rome, right? I don't know if they ascribed a gender to Ares, but I do know that Athena was the god of war. Again, because war tends to happen out of passion, uncontrolled rage. I was just learning the other day about a clause where if you murder your spouse because you catch them cheating, that you don't get punished as severely because they call it an act of passion or something like that. In other words, the court acknowledges how being overwhelmed with emotion can cause you to temporarily go insane and murder somebody. And as a result, they don't charge you as severely. So war is both masculine and feminine. But I would say war is dominated by feminine. That's just me. Not to say that the masculine doesn't cause some pretty fucked up shit too, because it does. By golly, it does. I was just throwing it out there for war. Anywho, what's up, Kazori? Good morning. I answered the war is masculine. Thanks for highlighting my name too. That helps me read the comments, read the questions a lot better. There's a spider on the microphone. Wanda Wisdom. I expounded on how things are dual properties, proof of which is the human body itself. Right hand, left hand, eyes. Well, yeah. See, the thing with polarity is that it ties in with the law of correspondence. And if things are polar on the physical realm, they must be polar on the mental realm and on the spiritual realm. So there's polarity exists on all realms. Um, think right brain, left brain, which funny enough correspond to a sort of logical brain and then a sort of creative type of brain. This is why I love the Hermetic philosophy so much and why I wrote the book on the Kabbalion, was because I read the Kabbalion and read things like polarity and how opposites exist. And I was like, every book I've ever read ever, whether it was an esoteric book, literature, um, physical sciences, psychology, it applied for all of them. So that it's just, if you're paying attention as they see, let those with eyes to see and ears to hear, if you catch my drift. But yeah. Um, Athena is the Olympian goddess of wisdom and war. Lead to anarchy and war. Um, where we at? Oh, you're describing the emotions behind war. Aries is the god of war, masculine sign. Um, yes, I was describing the emotions um, that fuel war. And you would be correct that there's also a masculine fire in there interjected as well. I do believe that there's both masculine and feminine behind warfare, but I do stick to my guns when I say that I think it's predominantly a feminine that's been out of control. Um, I do. I do think it's predominant. That it's predominantly a, or I mean, we could just say it's both. It's even split of both. We'll say that it's even split of both, which realistically it probably is. Manipulators, law of correspondence. How does that fit into the social, political, energetic dynamic in 2020? Damn, I feel like I'm in class. That's like a. You just asked me a question that my philosophy professor would ask me in college, Salavi. That's quite the question. How does that fit into the social? How does the law of correspondence fit into the social, political, energetic dynamic in 2020? Hmm. Um. How does the law of correspondence fit into the social, political? Um. I don't know. Can you be more specific? I'm not sure what to really hone in on. Social, political, energetic dynamic. Uh, I can think of a couple examples, but I feel like I'm just kind of coming out of left field and not really making. All right. Well, so first of all, law of correspondence is how different. What you find in the macrocosm, you find in the microcosm, and what you find in the microcosm, you find in the macrocosm. As above, so below. As in the heavens, so in the earth. Um, you look at brain neurons and the structure of them, and they branch out into these fractals that matches the same sort of fractals that you see in the lines that are in the palm of your hand, which look like the same patterns that river deltas make from the sky, same patterns that plant roots make and mushroom mycelium makes, and the structure of the internet, right? There seems to be this replicating pattern within all of existence. And because we all come from the same place, that we must all have the same pattern built into us. So law of correspondence states that and says that if you have the ability to look, if you have the ability to see a pattern in something, then you can go, oh, that pattern exists there, so it must exist there also. An example would be, oh, I got a perfect one. Nice. I was hoping that my definition of correspondence would give me an answer, and it did. Here's to answer your question. Law of correspondence, how does that fit into the social? So I've actually made a video on this before. It's not even a theory. I guess it's kind of a theory, but more of a hypothesis / theory. I don't know. Anywho, I had this idea that people say, they're like, oh, it's all dominated by the masculine. Like there's an unhealthy masculine, and that's why the world has gone to shit. And I said, wait a minute, time out. Is it that simple? We want things to be simple, right? We want them to be understandable. The more simple, the better. But we don't want to sacrifice specificity for simpleness, because you leave things out the more simple you make something. So it's not as simple as just saying men and aka the masculine are the downfall of the world. I think it's, of course, both, as any sort of alchemist would say, that it's a combination of both masculine and feminine, a combination of both unhealthy masculine and unhealthy feminine. You see, the feminine is programmed because the feminine receives. The feminine doesn't project information out. Think in the physical realm, this is correspondence of a man and a woman. The male seed is shot out. That's the masculine, the projection. The female receives the seed and grows, and grows the life within it. The infinite potential starts to solidify. Well, the masses, to me, seem to be dominated by an unhealthy feminine because they don't make decisions of their own volition. You know what I mean? People always question themselves. Oh, am I doing the right thing? And I'm like, oh, help me. Think about how many, the rise of gurus over the past couple decades is like, help me, give me answers, tell me what the truth is, tell me what the answer, give me, right? That's feminine. Give me a reception, receive, whatever. And people tell you, oh, you need to do this, and they buy into that. They become programmed with that projection. Oh, okay, I'll do that. Oh, fuck, that didn't work. Okay, what do you got? I'll do that. Oh, that didn't work, right? Always looking to be programmed, never trying to do the programming. Always taking orders, never giving them. Always being a sheep, never being a shepherd. So I think the masses are dominated by an unhealthy feminine that receive too much. But I think we're led by an extremely unhealthy masculine. The masculine is mostly, I say this because the people who have the most power in the world don't take care of the world, right? The feminine has a nurturing quality to it where it wants everyone to be safe, everyone to be happy. This is fucking obvious. If you don't know how mothers work, it doesn't matter what species or race you are, the motherly instinct outshines the masculine for caretaking. You'd be like, oh, well, I know this person who's this, he's a guy and he's so nurturing. Like, I get it that extremely nurturing men are out there, but on average, the feminine is more nurturing. That being said, our world is dominated by people who don't give a fuck about everybody. They only care about themselves, their businesses, their enterprises, their power. They don't even care about their friends. Most of the time, they will literally shoot their friends in the back to get them out of the way. You know what I mean? So that is one way of correspondence and how it relates to the social dynamics of things. At least how I see it. When it comes to the masculine and feminine, the two qualities of energy, people say there's no such thing as good or bad. There isn't, but there is. And when masculine is bad is when it's used when femininity should be used. And when femininity is bad is when it's used when masculinity should be used. You know what I mean? It's, as the law of rhythm says, it's all about timing, brothers and sisters. It's all about timing. When to do what and how to do it, and then fucking do that shit well, so that whatever you intend to create comes through with ease, with strength, with vitality. And again, that's strictly determined on how well you can integrate those two qualities of energy. I guess you could call the shadow feminine, because the feminine, I guess it would be close to the feminine, because the feminine um is the unknown, and that's what the shadow is. It's the things you're unconscious of. The conscious mind would be the masculine mind, and the subconscious mind would be the feminine. So like the etheric, the fucking boundless pit, and then the conscious mind is your focus, right? I'm going to ride my bike. I'm going to pedal my feet, right? That's just one thing that I'm going to pedal. I'm going to ride. I'm going to do one thing at a time. Um, yeah, I'm going to check out you guys' comments. Let's see what we got going in the comment section. The French was quoted as having said, "At the core of all wars lies a woman." That's hella funny. War always about people, never fruits and vegetables. What up, Five Guys? My top favorite books, Jocelina, absolutely. Absolutely. The only dead votive. All right. We built this city on rock and roll. Man, that was a tasty sip of water. It was a tasty sip of water. Do you believe in the age of Aquarius? Harmony and understanding. Aquarius. Aquarius. Fucking movie. And how the masculine and feminine energy is supposed to learn how to work in harmony. Do I believe in the age of Aquarius? I mean, I guess so. I see someone explained to me that Aquarius was. I like astrology, but I'm not your go-to on astrology by any means. But my understanding is age of Aquarius is about the self, right? It's about man as an individual coming into himself, and that seems to be the thing. Culture is today not 95% self-centered. 95% self-centered. I guess just looking at Instagram, there's even a word for it. It's called selfie. Like there's even a word for the ultimate manifestation of it all, and it's called selfie. Let me take a selfie. Me. A selfie is just another word for me. You know what I mean? So I'm just substitute me for every time you hear the word selfie, and that's what's really going on. It's the impression behind it. So to me, it makes sense that we would be coming into the age of Aquarius. But that's just part of the awakening. I would say that there always has to be a realize that the goal of existence is to come to a realization of the self, and how it interacts with the community and how the community interacts with the self. But as most things, there's a shadow and there's a light, and so maybe we're just living out the shadow of the Aquarius. Like I said, there's got to be a better astrologer on here, and I'm sure they could make a comment on the social state of things in relation to the age of Aquarius. Yeah. You're not afraid Bigfoot will jump through that window and grab you? Does it look like Bigfoot would? Damn, it does look like Bigfoot would. Yo, that window looks a lot scarier when I actually have that thought in my mind. I think you just ruined the garage for me. I feel like a bloody body should just be slamming itself into that window with its eyes bulging and like fucking saliva and blood running down its face. And he's just like, brains. Did you guys notice that projection of the shadow I just did right now to the window? You know what I mean? That's another cool thing about the shadow is if you're able to have fun with it. I'm starting to see how one would integrate their shadow, and it's by joking with it. I came to the realization that this is what great comedians must do. I think I'm starting to put it together. I'm almost convinced that comedians write comedy on their own shadow. They make fun of themselves, they mock themselves, they turn their greatest insecurities into humor, into comedy, which is fucking brilliant. Because what better way to integrate your darkness than with laughter and playfulness and lightness? It shows up in the human. It shows up in the human subconscious on occasion. Think Harry Potter. Ridiculous was the spell they casted on the. I forgot what the entity was. What's the entity that changed shapes based on your biggest fear? Boggart. I think it's a Boggart, something like that. And the joke is ridiculous, which is ridiculous, basically with a just a silly way of saying it, ridiculous. And then the spider had skates on it. You know what I mean? Something silly. It was just the moon turned into a playful red balloon. You know what I mean? Which is a brilliant way of demonstrating integration of shadow, on screen, on picture. And that's what I meant earlier by using your imagination to do these things. One couple had shadow vows prior to their actual vows. We see Harry Potter with the ridiculous spell. Your imagination is the limit, you guys. Your imagination is the limit. I swear to God, whenever I'm doing lives in here, after a while, it sounds like there's a swarm of bees in the attic. I wonder if there's a swarm of bees in the attic. Spooks. All right, where were we? Good night, Janai. Oh, you just spelled it out for us. Good night, Janai. Thanks for stopping by. Satara, nice to see you in here. What's up? What about those self-help books? Or was that from a long time ago? Oh, these are old comments. My bad. Where are we at? Solipsism? I knew what solipsism was at one point. What is that again? When did this channel start? This channel started a couple years ago now. I'm gonna say like 2 years ago now. Oh yeah, if anyone's getting attacked by Bigfoot, it's Salabi, whom lives at the cusp of endless forest in the Pacific Northwest. Like Bigfoot should be showing up. I would expect you to be abducted at least twice a year. Bodhi, what difference does it make if we're living in the age of Aquarius in this Kali Yuga? I don't know. What kind of question is that? What do you mean? What difference does it make if we're living in the age of Aquarius in this Kali? Well, the difference is each era is. You can imagine the sky falling down with stardust, right? And that stardust that hits Earth's floor is flavored with something, right? And you're not going to pair any old flavor with it. You're not going to pair Merlot with the steak. No, you're going to pair some Pinot with some steak. You know what I mean? Like, right? Because there's qualities of energy mixed with different qualities of energy differently. So Aquarius dominating our skies, being that we're in the age of Aquarius, means that little Aquarian stardust flakes are sprinkling ever so gracefully to the earth, which is going to give the earth a certain kind of flavor. So understanding that flavor, understanding your flavor, and understanding how those two flavors act when they come together will give you a better idea of how to proceed in the darkness. So I would assume that would be the point of the age that you're in during the dark period that you're talking about. Five Guys, are symbols given power by people? Yes, 100%. Absolutely. 100%. Yes, next question. Five Guys asked, are symbols given power by people? 100%. I hear footsteps in your attic. That's terrifying. Oh, being all into self. Solipsism. There you go. That's yeah. What up, Satara? Solipsism is the philosophical idea that only one's mind is sure to exist. I see. I know at least that I exist. Age of Aquarius, where it's focused on community and innovation. So it's based on community then, not the self. Someone told me that it was based on the Aquarian was based on the self. Maybe I got bad information. Have you ever seen Eyes Wide Shut? Nope. Pineapple Sage. Thanks. We're just. It's not. I blame all shooting from the hip. I give all credit to the oregano. Just so you guys know. Want to play Fortnite? Nah, man, but I'm definitely down to play some Call of Duty. This current social justice movement makes so much sense. Anywho, are we done? Should we call it? Should that be it? Our first video on shadow work? Going once? Going twice? All right. Thank you guys for being here tonight. Appreciate the hell out of you spending your time here. You could be anywhere, but you're chilling at the squad. If you guys are new, remember to subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, introduce yourselves, come check us out. We got some cool things. We got some music. We got some live shows for you guys, play some sweet piano tunes and ukulele tunes for you guys. We talk hermetics. We do live readings by candlelight, Kabbalion, Emerald Tablets, and Napoleon Hill's Interview with the Devil. We even do Nightmare Before Christmas during Halloween time. Like, yo, we do it all at Man of Letters. We talk about Hollow Earth. Like, we go in. So, for those of you that have been here for a while, hell yeah! Thanks for continued support. Thank you for to my Patreon supporters. Thank you guys who shop on my Etsy shop. I was supposed to introduce this at the beginning of the video, but I'm having a manofletters.com. So we'll be moving orders from Etsy to the website so that I won't get taxed to hell on the sales that I make. Yeah, so thank you so much for everything that you guys have been doing to support. Appreciate the hell out of it. And yeah, thanks for chilling. All right, see you soon. Thank you, John Smith. How could I forget? Shit. Everyone thank John Smith, the link master, the thumbnail master, the man behind the scenes making it all happen. You guys know him as Agent Smith, and yes, unless you're an OG, but yeah, he makes a lot happen behind the scenes to the channel. And I appreciate the hell out of you, John. Thank you, man. Thank you. Yes, Pineapple Sage. 7 Pillars, A Handbook for Existence is the name of the book. But yeah. Adios. Hasta mañana. Where's the off button? All right.